Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to TRACKILICIOUS. I'm Ghoukasian, and I am joined by a very special Paul Miles from New World Sim Racing. Paul, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing very well, Eric. Thanks for having me here. I'm excited as always, for a race at Spa. And great to be here, man. Great to be here.
Paul, we are doing a super special event at Spa-Francorchamps today, and I'm super excited. This event is brought to you by multiple members of the FAA organization. So for those that don't know, every country, or there are many countries who have memberships to the FAA, and they're either referred to as federations, clubs, members. And today, 3 of these members have come together to bring us this super special event. The Federation, the Automobile Federation of Armenia, the Automobile Club Brasileiro, and Automobile Club du Luxembourg. So super excited for the collaboration of these 3 phenomenal clubs and members to the FIA to have brought us our Spa special race. Admittedly, a quick race that was put together, something fun, something for everybody to get their feet wet, and we're looking for many, many more in the future. Spa is going to be super exciting, Paul. You know, very competitive track, really good on all aspects, technical, passing, really all fronts, historic. What are your thoughts? Raced here much before, I'm sure.
Many times. Spa ticks all the boxes for a motor race, and I think with the grid size we have, we're going to see some good action. Obviously, Eau Rouge dominates the track map, always has done. The only thing that might be missing today is a little bit of weather. Looks like a nice, clear day out there. So yeah, I think it'll be a great race, and as always at Spa. Interesting point you make there. Relatively, it does look sunny out there, and it's probably gonna remain sunny, having adjusted the server settings myself. And I think the intention is just to bring all of these drivers from the different constituencies together for this event. Let's just keep things a little bit bland for the first race, ensure we have a good race for all attending, and then maybe spice things up as we go from there. That being said, a little bit more about the federation. So about the FAA, multiple Armenian racers proudly joining TRACKILICIOUS global scouting race here today, a collaborative sim racing initiative on Assetto Corsa Competizione, made possible through the kind support of our friends from Brazil and Luxembourg. Taking to the track our national livery is a meaningful moment for us. Beyond that, this race reflects a shared commitment to shining light on sim racing talents and taking early steps toward possible FIA recognition in esports space. So really excited to be a part of this. And for those that don't know, I just so happen to have gotten myself in a situation where I am representing Armenia as the director of esports within the FAA, hence the collaborative effort. But Paul, you have a little bit of information from Luxembourg. Yeah, last year ACL Sport kicked off their first ever officially recognized F4 Esports Championship. It was a huge hit. The champion didn't just win bragging rights, they earned a spot to represent Luxembourg at the FIA Motorsport Games in Valencia, Spain. And guess what? They're doing that again this year. So the second edition of the ACL F4 Esports Championship is here. It's your chance to race your way to the international stage. Real competition, real stakes, real opportunity. For more info, check out the ACL Sport and get ready to put your name on the map. And there you go. There you have it.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. And for those who are interested in finding out more, we do have a couple of exclamation point commands. Blaine, welcome. Carlos, welcome. Everybody, hope everyone's doing well in the chats. There are a couple commands if you're looking to check out their website, exclamation point Armenia, exclamation point FAA. Lux, ACL Sport Brazil, and ACBr will take you to the respective website. So, Paul, we have already gotten our qualifying started, and we should probably hop in and see what is going on here in a second once I click on the correct buttons and get ourselves in a situation that makes sense. All right, let's transition into the stream, into the race. On board already with one of the Armenians, and really happy to see a good grid of Armenians, a couple of Luxembourgers, and I believe some Brazilians as well. I know there were some signed up, but I'm not quite sure if they all came through or not. So great diversity of attendees here today, and a healthy grid. 31 drivers on the grid so far, considering that this event was launched only a couple of days ago. I'm so happy to see the attendance.
Yeah, 31 drivers, a great attendance really for, as you said, the event came together kind of late. Qualifying underway, about 9 minutes to go. Currently, it's Formato, who's someone you alluded before the race in our little chat that could be a strong contender here today, with a 2:16.617 on the board already in the Mustang, which is a heavily favored car here this morning.
Yeah, Formato, having attended a bunch of the Trackalicious championships in the past, is absolutely rapid. And if you have Andy Borchers in P2, you're doing something very, very, very right. Alex Sarkisian, the Armenian in P3. So again, such great diversity. We have heard from the pit wall that the Fords are looking mighty strong today. Loads of power, such a straight line heavy car, and boy, are there some straights here at Spa-Francorchamps.
Yeah, and you can already kind of see from the way quali's shaping up here, Mustang's dominating the top 10, but we do have that sprinkling of BMW and a brave soul, Kenneth Portis II there in the Honda. Always a fast car in the hands of an experienced driver, but from my understanding, quite a deadly machine at times. So we will see how he gets on.
Yeah, Portis, quite the connoisseur of the Honda, and I think you have one in your community as well in the New World Sim Racing. Andrew Rados fashioning the same skin in that car. Both incredible drivers. We've seen some great performances through the variety of leagues that we've seen them in. But yeah, it's not a car that I would be able to drive in that way. So immense credit to them.
Yeah, Rados is the what's the word I'm looking for? He nominated himself to lead the I'm Honda cult over in New World Sim Racing, and yeah, I know that it is his favorite car, I believe, on ACC.
Yeah, and you know what? This is Blaine claiming, Blaine questioning the self-proclaimed portion. I think it is anointed, given that that he has shown the performance behind that wheel. So absolutely phenomenal. And we do have a new leader on the board, Alex Sarkisian, jumping up into P1, the Armenian driver, doing an absolutely fantastic job. Again, that Mustang looking mighty strong here at Spa-Francorchamps as he goes through the second sector here. Let's hop on board a little bit with him and have a look and see what that looks like as he does chase down another Mustang there, probably getting a good bit of tow.
Yeah, Sarkisian on top, and interestingly enough, Sector 3, he has a purple Sector 3. Sector 1 and Sector 2 belonging to others, so a very fast Sector 3 is probably the difference right now, that 10th between him and Borchers at the moment. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if anyone can clip back a 2:16.2. I mean, that I've never even come close at Spa to that kind of lap time, so that is very impressive.
Having a 1 in that third digit there is quite foreign to me, to be honest with you. I think I've hit the 19s once or twice, but
happy to be broadcasting today. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, absolutely. Some rapid times. I mean, we do have at the moment 5 drivers in the 16s here in quali, almost the same amount in the 17s and the 18s, and so on and so on. So it looks, looking at the quali times, it looks like we should have some good groups of action based on pace, which is all you really want when you're signing up for a race. I think it's just you want to be involved in some action.
Yeah, and it looks like, you know, everyone looks relatively well spread in the field for quali now. A couple of groupings there, which isn't what you want to do. It reminds me of going go-karting at the local tracks. People not realizing that you're not actually racing when you go go-karting. You're actually trying to set the fastest lap. So you get these clumps racing and qualifying. It's like, hey, give yourselves a little bit more room and go set your fast lap, because that's where you want to be when the actual racing happens in a couple of minutes here.
Yeah, I'm just looking at Quinn Smith is just about to cross the line. Does 2:17.6, added about 7 tenths quicker than previous lap there in the BMW. So decent lap there. Sets out again. That was the biggest gain I've seen in a while. We do have another one, although that could be invalid. No, it didn't. I'm going to butcher some names today, and I apologize in advance to you and everyone else involved in this event, Eric. So, but Armin Ghoukasian, I'm going to go with Ghoukasian. What do you think?
It's probably Armin Ghazarian. Yeah. so okay. Armenian has. So I have home court advantage here, right? Home court advantage here, being Armenian myself. Armenian, the language is one of the oldest languages, period. It is one of the etymology is it's a root language, right? It doesn't stem off of anything else, and we have many more letters than there are available in English, and many more sounds that just don't exist in English. So I'll be your your guide to Armenian today.
You mean you'll be the guy that corrects every name I say? I understand.
We practiced a little bit before stream, and I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty impressed by your pronunciation. So, you know, again, we talked about your relation to Armenian, having an Armenian previously in one of your favorite football clubs. So,
yeah, I like being English. If the name isn't like John Smith, I'm probably going to butcher it. I got to be honest. So apologies to those in advance. I'll do the very best I can. That's all I can give you. At 8 o'clock in the morning.
We can Armenianify your name. You know, I'm just thinking about my parents saying your name right now. So, but looking back on the grid here, you know, this is fun. Some cultural diversity integrating into the streams here is super fun, and that's exactly what we're trying to do with all of the constituents within the FIA, right? I mean, these countries being relatively far from each other, Armenia, Luxembourg, and Brazil, super fun to have these 3 federations come together and present this event, and really looking forward to the racing, because the grid does look pretty competitive. The likes of Alex Sarkisian on the top, only hundredths away from Andy Borchers in the BMW, and if there's somebody that could drive a BMW, it is the German Andreas Borchers, the machine as we call him.
Yeah, I mean, it is. Look at that list of Mustangs in P1 and 3 through 6 right now. Borchers just stands out there in the BMW, but yeah, I understand. A very quick driver, and extremely close at the moment. Has purple sector 2. Formato in the Mustang, it currently P3 on the grid with purple sector 1, but yeah, Sarkisian leading the charge for Armenia, and yeah, that 2:16.295 standing strong at the moment. We'll see. Anybody can touch it. There's only 30 seconds left to get yourself across the line and have another pop.
Yeah, we'll see. It looks like the number 25 has made it through.
383 of Arsène Hovhanessian is going to make it through. 44 maybe might be the last car. I don't think 44 is actually going to make it. Ooh, nope. Looks like the likes of Marks Turbinov will complete their session here, but we still have quite a few cars on track trying to complete their lap.
Yeah, there's a few invalid laps out there, which is, you know, fairly easy to do at Spa. It's, with it being a fairly long lap, there are several opportunities to invalidate during quali, and you know, I don't think it's a track known for drive-throughs on ACC. I don't think we're going to see any drive-throughs. I'd be surprised at least, but you never know. But in quali, it's definitely possible and quite easy to invalidate your lap, I think.
Yeah, and I think that's the nice thing about Spa, and that's why it's liked so much through a lot of racing, whether it's real life racing or simulated, right? It just brings a little bit of everything, I feel. It's got the technical portions, it's got the straight line, it's got the invalid risk, or invalidation risk, I should say. So just such a well-balanced track all around, as we see the last couple of drivers coming through here. Alex Hansen coming through the second sector here, or the final sector, I should say. Alex switching over to the Bentley. I'm going to call him out here on stream. Well, had been advised to drive a Honda, as we were talking about earlier, and realized that just because Portis can drive a Honda doesn't mean that we can drive a Honda. And yeah, quickly switched over to the Bentley and looking pretty good in it.
Yeah, I'd love to see a lone Bentley out there on the grid. So yeah, I'll secretly be cheering Hansen on a little bit. Just anyone that, you know, drives the Boatley amongst this group, with the Mustang heavy presence, a lot of Beamers as well. Yeah, love to see it.
And there we have it, Mr. Miles. That is the qualifying completed. It might be a couple of minutes here. We've put a bit of a break between the sessions just to ensure that they all get a chance to relax for a second, get themselves sorted, and ensure that they are ready for the 60-minute race. Now, I don't think we really mentioned what the format looks like. 60 minutes here today. Again, just a quick, fun event to get the communities together, the organizations and the federations together. And it's going to be a mandatory pit stop, mandatory refueling with a minimum 25 seconds, and optional tires. So all of these drivers are really going to have to make the decision to understand whether their consumption and tire usage is enough to justify getting that fresh rubber. What's your take on it before we even get started, Paul?
Yeah, good sort of classic sprint race format, and the tires or no tires gives us that 5-second difference in the pit stops that you know, maybe someone could take advantage of to gain a place or two. Yeah, you know, at Spa, realistically, it's going to be what can you do on track. I think that's gonna really govern it. So I'm pretty pumped to be here and excited to watch this group who are now prepping themselves for that opening Eau Rouge run, which, you know, you've done a few races at Spa, I imagine, as well yourself. You know, definitely can be a little exciting on lap one.
The risk is real and it is threatening. And obviously, in every driver's mind here before we get started, the race is won on lap one. It's something in our brains that switches over and goes, no, you are going to win the race at lap one. But hopefully we do see some incredible pace. And I'm sure that pace comes with experience, and they understand that it is not the place to win the race. And they have been reminded. The other thing is, you know, these aren't drivers that necessarily regularly drive with each other. So yeah, hopefully they give each other a little bit more room, and until they learn each other's habits through a couple of laps, and then really go at it, you know?
Yeah, definitely. And again, that lap one, sure, give yourselves a bit of room, but no matter what you do at Spa, you know, when you hit Eau Rouge that first time, you're going to be surrounded by cars. We've seen many a chaotic sort of, you know, we've seen it many times at Spa. Let's just put it that way. Hopefully we get through here fairly clean today, and everybody gets a chance to do their thing. So I will have my fingers crossed as they go. I'm nervous for them going through Radion. Honestly, it's Eau Rouge, and really when you hit Radion is when chaos can ensue. I've seen a few traffic jams on the Kemmel Straight before on a race start. Hopefully we don't get that. It's just this is Spa though, you know, this can happen.
This is indeed Spa. And Paul, I'm going to take the opportunity to do the grid walk here at Spa Francorchamps here at Trackilicious. Starting at P1, we have no audio. My funky audio beat's not working. Anyways, that's okay. We'll just go through it just quietly, I suppose. Alex Sarkisian in P1, besting the likes of Andy Borchers representing the Trackilicious car and the AWI International livery, previous sponsor of some of the Armenian events, an Armenian watch company. Super cool to see that out there. That being said, in P3, we have the likes of Michael Formato from Canada, followed by Callum Jones in P4, British driver. Hunter Davis coming in P5, the proto competition at Mustang. In P6, Marc-Antoine Landry. Kenneth Portis in P7, followed by Edward Kochinian in P8. Brandon Pfeiffer in P9, Joras Sarkisian in P10, Arsène Hovhanessian in P11, followed by Quinn Smith in P12. P13 goes to Carlos Guzman, a name familiar to both of us, having raced in many leagues, Trackilicious and New World Sim Racing. P14 is Gagik Jamharian. 15 is Sarkis Matensian. New names to me as I get familiar with them. Daron Tevanyan in P16, Armen Ghazarian in P17, Alex Hansen in P18, Razmik Agabekian in P19, followed by Pete Hitzeman in P20. Tikran Markarian in P21, Austin Doyle 22, Brian Zillerin in P23, Jacob Little 24, Sergey Hakopian in P25, Mark Sturbanov 26, Christopher Barr in 27, Gor Markarian 28, Datian Lazovsky in 29, Maxim Blocker 30, and Dylan Mertz in 31, the Luxembourger closing off the grid. What a fantastic grid here today as everybody gets their tires warmed up, getting ready for the race here, Paul.
I gotta tell you, good job with the grid walk. I have been responsible for the grid walk on the New World Sim Racing's Pint Series many times. It is not easy. It sounds easy, but when you factor in it's not easy and then you add in some of the pronunciation required today, I think you did an excellent job. So GG.
Thank you so much. Welcome, Raiders. Hello, everybody. Hope everyone is doing well. Really appreciate the raid. Camp Hope, how are you doing? How is your stream? You are joining at the absolute perfect time as we are here at Spa Francorchamps with a special event, a 60-minute sprint, mandatory pit, mandatory minimum fueling of 25 seconds with an optional tire to try and see if anybody splits the strategy. The Armenian Alex Sarkisian in P1, followed by Andy Borchers, the German in P2, and Michael Formato, the Canadian, in P3. So not so much diversity of cars up front, but definitely diversity of nationalities, and that is super exciting to see as this event is brought to you by the multiple federations who subscribe to the FAA, representing Armenia, Luxembourg, and Brazil.
Yeah, and it's the calm before the storm as the formation lap takes its shape. Drivers just about to head into sector 3, so we'll be getting underway here very, very quickly. I'm excited. We've got an hour of racing ahead of us, and hopefully we see some great battles. I am enjoying this Mustang heavy presence at Spa at the front here because I quite like the Mustang, not gonna lie. So yeah, we do have 5 of the top 6 in the Mustang in quali, so that tells you a little bit of the backstory.
And you know,
the guys come around.
It should tell you a little bit about what Andy Borchers is capable of, right? Taking that BMW to P2 only 0.05 of a second behind the Mustang is absolutely incredible.
Yeah, Beamer, it's a car I had a couple of successful seasons in myself in league racing. I do like the Beamer. I know that it's sort of quote unquote fallen off a bit compared to where it used to be in terms of the bop, but yeah, Borchers doing a fabulous job putting it on the front row alongside one of the Stangs.
So for those familiar with the Spa setup here in Assetto Corsa Competizione, the start finish line is not where we start. We're actually going to go around T1 and start right before Eau Rouge. Some claims that we're going to see a wreck fest here at Eau Rouge Radion. I have faith. I have faith that they're gonna do okay left. They're gonna do well. Maka's non-existent. I don't think we have any here as they line up in zipper formation, left, right, one Maka still representing. So good to see the diversity of some cars at least in there. See a Lamborghini somewhere down the road here as we round T1. Get ready to get this race started. 31 cars on grid, multiple nationalities, all here at Spa-Francorchamps, here at TRACKILICIOUS, and the adrenaline must be absolutely pumping through their veins, looking for the green flag. And we are green, go. Looks like Borchers Guzzi had a pretty decent start. Alex Sarkisian does get ahead though, defending. Sarkisian disappearing off the track, but is back. Everybody lining up before Eau Rouge, some 2 wide, some 3 wide. Looks like we have a pretty good field here. Come on, boys. Amazing. Going through the Eau Rouge Radion complex without a single issue. Have faith in the 3 wide going into the complex here though, as they do manage. Sorry, go ahead, Paul.
Fantastic start from the entire field there, and credit where credit's due. That is not easy to get a clean start at Spa. So fantastic job, and yes, Ghoukasian, following on from his strong quali, has a lead of about half a second already here. Borchers hot on his heels in the BMW, and then a field of Mustangs looking to hunt him down. Yeah, it's a great start by the entire grid though.
Absolutely fantastic. I knew it. Left, I told you. We got to have faith. We got to be proud.
For the gentleman in chat that asked, we do have 2 McLarens on grid. They are 29 and 30 respectively at the moment. Actually 28 now for Christopher Barr in the number 10 McLaren, and you also have Dylan Mertz in the number 4. So you can keep an eye on those.
The Luxembourger Mertz coming through. Oh, looks like we already have a DT, unfortunately. That's, I mean, I can't imagine that could be anything less than track limits already.
Lajovsky, yeah, drive through. What would that be for? That's an interesting one. Unless, what do you get for being out of position at the start? Is that?
Oh, yeah, you're probably right.
Could be that, maybe. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
difficult to tell. And
yeah, but the field's still incredible battling going on. Oh my goodness, we have a car turned around.
We have a yellow flag. Yeah.
Let's go back and have a look at what happened. Almost a fantastic first lap completely, but fortunately a little bit less bunched up towards the end of the lap here. Going back 30 seconds to have a look at the replay and see what is going on, what happened on board.
It looks like somebody lost it in the bus stop, and is now back underway. That's Rashmik Agabekian. I'm doing the best I can. I apologize.
That's very good. Very good. A couple of bumps, a couple of bangs. Unfortunately for Edward Ghoukasian, who was turned around there. And I'm sure we do have post-race stewarding, so that's probably a report that's going to come through from Edward. But having said that, he is turned back around and flying forward.
Yeah, honestly, we'll take it. That's a very, very clean lap one for a grid of 31 drivers, and I think you can all be very pleased with that. Now settle down and get into your groove, and I'm having a look here at Carlos Guzman in the Mustang. He's currently P13, about half a second behind Tivanian, and trying to reel him in. So Carlos obviously races with us at New World Sim Racing quite a bit too, and I'm secretly cheering for him.
Secretly, loudly, and forwardly cheering for a driver on the grid. It does happen. Commentators sometimes do have preferences, but Guzman, it will be under threat here soon. He is followed by Sarkis Matencian and Armen Ghazarian, who are both right on the tail. Now, if these two don't end up battling themselves, as that could result in loss of time. So, Paul, we say this all the time. It is one thing to be able to lap and lap and lap on a track without any drivers. It is a completely different thing to overtake, and battling and trying to overtake in itself is such a huge time loss relative to your overall performance in the race.
Yeah, it is. Getting in those battles will definitely cost you time, but it's why we're all here. So part of the challenge of it. We did just have a minor incident right at the second chicane there, and I think it was over pretty quick, but I did see a couple of cars off in the gravel, but everyone seems to be back on track. There's a AMG of Max Turbinov with looks like a little bit of front end damage, and a couple of other cars heading into the pits for repairs. You had the Porsche of Tigran Magarian looking a little bit worse for wear, so I think he's heading in for some repairs as well.
Like we said, they do have the mandatory pit. They can refuel fully and just go to the end, so it's going to be where we see what these guys are going to do. Looks like we have Alexa Quinn Smith in the back here. Seems to have gotten himself into a situation, and we'll be looking ahead moving forward. But the likes of Andy Borchers and Alex Sarkisian still flying on track. Sarkisian having built a 1.2 second gap to Andy Borchers, who is only 2 laps in, is quite a phenomenal performance, and I'm sure some credit to the vehicles out there.
Yeah, great stuff. I got my eyes on P8 and P9 right now. So you have Brandon Pfeiffer in the Lamborghini. You don't see a lot of Lambos these days. He's hot on the heels of Joras Sarkisian, and almost had a chance to round him after Arouge Radion into Lacombe, and is hot on the heels of this Aston Martin. We'll see if he can make it stick. Yeah, you don't see a lot of Lambos these days on ACC, so I'm enjoying this one.
You have some of the dedicated, committed folks like Jonathan Clifford, and I see Jace Wright in it, some of the Fuchsia Motorsports guys who do prefer the Lambo, but you are right, as we could see represented on the grid here, not the most popular choice. But Pfeiffer here, quite an experienced driver, has been around for quite some time in ACC, doing some LMU work these days, but chasing down Jora Sarkisian. Jora, an admin, I believe, over at the Armenian Sim Racing Discord. Really great group of guys trying to build up some sim racing in Armenia and doing a fantastic job at that. The second best performing Armenian here behind Alex Sarkisian. So really good performance from Jora here today.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I'm noticing about this particular battle between these three is, as the lap unfolds, you're seeing the strengths of each car, and you often see this in sim racing, but the Aston of Sarkisian strong in you know, a couple of the straighter sections. Pfeiffer is able to close at various parts of the track, and then Ghoukasian, if I haven't completely butchered that name in the Mustang, was able to catch in sector 3 using the strengths of that Mustang along the back section of the track through Blochemont, etc. And so you're seeing the lap, you know, the time between these 3 cars fluctuate throughout the lap, depending on the sort of strong sections for that car. So it'll be interesting to see who comes out on top.
Yeah, and Ghoukasian, another admin over at Armenian Sim Racing and the Bad Bunnies race team. Again, a really quick driver. I've seen some incredible performances from him. Arsene doing a fantastic job trying to keep up with the likes of Brandon Pfeiffer. Pfeiffer focusing ahead still. You know, we were once talking to the legend Ali Raza, the razzle dazzle. Said, "Hey Ali, how do you deal with being pressured from behind?" He goes, "Just don't look back there. Look ahead and focus on your race ahead." Easier said than done, I'm sure.
Yeah, not driving in your mirrors is a very, very difficult skill to master. I think we're all guilty of it at times. That's where it starts to affect your lap times. Not the case right now for Edouard Ghoukasian in P19 in the Mustang. He just made a move on Jacob Little, a fellow Mustang driver, just got past him in sector 2. So Ghoukasian moving up to P19, and yeah, a couple of moves being made. Next closest battle I see is Landry. So Marc-Antoine Landry coming down towards Eau Rouge behind Davis. Another couple of Mustangs, and some pressure may be put on him here as they go through Radion and down towards Lacombe.
Yeah, we are watching Landry right now gaining that slipstream advantage behind the Mustang of Davis. So equal machinery, Landry sending it on the outside, trying to get the car to stick on the exit, and does make the move work. Davis right there to try and get that move back. Super
Very
fun,
well done. Yeah.
complex of corners here as they go through Bruel, turn 10, long right-hander, and I'm sure that's going to be a position that Hunter Davis is going to want to get back.
Yeah, that was a great move, really, by Landry. Davis did everything he could, putting the car on that defensive line into Lacombe. Yeah, I don't think he could have done much more. Landry stayed committed on the outside and got the job done. So, yeah, well done, Landry. He moves him to P5. So that's a important move he just made there.
Yeah, the Canadian driver, Marc-Antoine Landry, is, I mean, super quick. I mean, this guy's a P1, P2 type personality, type skill level, and we've seen him pop in and out of Trackalicious leagues through the years, and just always been impressed by his performance. So that is not a surprising move, and I'm sure Hunter Davis is going to be regrouping and trying to see what he's got to try and make that move, take that move back as we go through the remainder of the race. 50 minutes remaining. A little under 15 minutes remaining, and still the pit stops, right? That's another part of the strategy that we're going to be talking about. But right now, it looks like Brandon Pfeiffer really has closed up on the likes of Jonas Sarkisian, as there are only a couple of tenths between the two drivers here. That Lambo being reined into the absolute peak performance, chasing down Jora.
Yeah, that group is still going at it. And also further back, we saw in P19 right now, Ghoukasian. We saw him make the move past Little to get P19. He's now putting pressure on Hitzeman in the BMW ahead of him. So Ghoukasian trying to make another move here within the next lap or two, trying to line it up. And we'll see if he can get the move done. Going into La Source right now. And yeah, I'll keep my eye on this one as he looks to be making moves.
Yeah, a bit of a wiggle there, but looks like Brandon Pfeiffer now having the toe, looking on the outside of Jonas Sarkisian in the Aston. The Aston does have really strong top speed from what I recall, but the Lamborghini having that mid-engine kind of stronger in rotation, looking on the inside as they go into Bruel, not there, still chasing down. Again, this battling really giving Arsene Hovhanessian the opportunity to get closer. Still a bit of a gap, so Brandon Pfeiffer can continue to focus ahead, continue his charge as they go down the hill into Pouan. Really tough couple of corners, a place where I know I've ruined an endurance before, having been too aggressive on the release of my brakes, but not a problem for Sarkisian, not a problem for Pfeiffer, and this battle continues.
Yeah, the Lambo doing everything it can, having a look here and there, making his presence very known to the Aston. Yeah, there's speaking of Pouan, you know, when I enter a race at Spa, there are a few requirements I look for in the car that I'm going to be in, and obviously, can I take Eau Rouge flat is one. As Pfeiffer actually at Blochemont, one of the other corners I was going to mention, we go into Blochemont, and that was close side by side. It's always risky into Blochemont, but they get it done. But it does allow the Mustang of Ho Hanishvan to make himself known on the inside into the bus stop. They're going to come out of that side by side. Sorry, Eric, I've completely taken over here. And it just all kicked off right then. So yeah, but they settled back into the same rhythm. So as I was saying, yeah, there's sort of three areas of the track that I like to make sure the car is stable in. That is Eau Rouge, that is Blochemont, and Pouan. Those are the three. And if one of those are off and you have a big wobble at any point during an endurance race, it is in your brain every single lap for the rest of the race, whether it's 60 minutes or 12 hours or 24 hours. I've been, one particular jumps to mind in the AMG, just horrendous. Every lap I was scared out of my mind going into Eau Rouge because I felt like I'd lose the car. And that is what Spa can be like. Coming in, owning the vehicle you're driving and being comfortable with the setup and it being stable goes a massive way to having a successful race here.
Yeah, just getting that confidence, and confidence is something Armin Ghazarian has, going too wide nearly into Eau Rouge and finally making the move stick as they go through Les Combes and past Bruel here. Fantastic job. Again, this is another three-car battle here. Ghazarian making his way past the likes of Sarkis Matensian and now looking ahead at Daron Tevanyan. So really good group of battles. You know, absolutely chuffed to bits, as they would say, Paul, to have so many Armenians on the grid. Not something that I'm used to be honest. So really nice to see that the Armenians coming through to represent the federation here, and such fantastic racing at that.
Yeah, absolutely. And further down the field, a couple of cars that were in an incident. We have Marjarian, Tigran Marjarian in the Porsche, making a move on Maxime Blocher and getting that done. So yeah, Marjarian trying to recoup after having a lot of damage in an incident at the bus stop. I think we'll see where it all shakes down after the pit cycle is complete. Ghoukasian making the move for P18, gets past Hitzeman before they hit Blochemont, so getting the move done early, and that stang of Ghoukasian up to P18.
I don't know about you, Paul, but going side by side in Blanchimont takes quite a bit of courage, and I am not sure if I've had enough courage juice this morning for me to have committed to a too wide at Blanchimont in this race.
Yeah, typically that requires somebody to just be willing to just lift the throttle a couple of millimeters to make sure we're good. Like, typically that's what it requires. And as you know, when you're in the heat of battle, that isn't always something that a driver wants to do. So we've seen contact there many times during side-by-sides, and thankfully we've seen it 2 or 3 times so far this race already, and the drivers getting through their side-by-side, making for exciting viewing, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I think fastest corner in the entire lap, the slightest contact, and not just the fastest corner, but you are so grip limited going through there. You're absolutely trying to balance and optimize the maximum limit of the tires so that the lightest of contacts could yield the worst of results. And while that's terrifying in sim racing, I can't imagine what that would be like in real life. And looks like we have another incident here. Let's go back and have a look.
Yeah, it was Ghoukasian in the Porsche. Unfortunately, at Lacombe, I think on the exit, lost the car. And it was right after I was watching Sergei Hakobian in the Ferrari get past Bar in that McLaren. So Hakobian gets up to P22, but unfortunately for Ghoukasian in the Porsche, left him in the gravel.
Sergey finding some positions up into P24, and that is 3 positions gained so far for Sergey. Not the most though. Dylan Mertz, the Luxembourger, now up 10 positions. Fantastic performance. Nice. You know, sometimes all it takes is just to survive. Do a good job. Have a level head up there, and Dylan Mertz doing an absolutely fantastic job staying clean and pointing forward. And that is, you know, it's very simple when you put it that way, but it's not easy to execute. Oh my goodness. Let's, you know, Brandon, I was trying to tell people about commentators' curses, but.
Oh no. Mertz, yeah, I see that. Sorry, I was watching Pfeiffer, who going into bus stop was bumper to bumper with Sargsyan. This battle has been going for, well, however long the race has been going, about 20 minutes so far. Aston versus Lambo, with the Mustang of Hovhannisyan just behind as well, waiting for an opportunity. So Brandon Pfeiffer, yeah, almost getting the move done last time around, so definitely worth keeping an eye on.
My goodness, I do want to explicitly apologize to Dylan Mertz, the Luxembourger. You know, commentators' curses are a thing, and appreciate Freeman getting that count up in Twitch. Exclamation point curse does add up to our total of the number of times that the commentators here at Trackalicious have cursed the drivers out on the field. And as we compliment Dylan's fantastic performance, just a little mistake coming through and yielding a poor situation there. But up top, the people who are not making any mistakes now having to go through some lap traffic, the likes of Alex Sargsyan going through, having to be wary of the car on the inside. Fortunately, that Porsche leaving tons of room, very responsibly rejoining the track, and appreciate that. Thank you for the follow. Cyan go okay. Sorry, that's a lot of letters, none of which make sense to me. I apologize for butchering the name, but welcome to this 60-minute sprint race here at Spa, hosted by the likes of the federations within the FAA from Armenia, Luxembourg, and Brazil. And we have a fantastic grid, and Brandon Pfeiffer still challenging the likes of Jonas Sargsyan for that P8 position.
Yeah, and he may have taken a track cut there, just going through a rouge, because it looked a little close. Right behind in the toe. That Aston, though, is quick in a straight line. He's going to go alongside him as they go into Lacombe, having a look on the outside once again, but the Aston holds the line perfectly. And this has just been happening for the last 2 or 3 laps now. That Lambo getting in position, just not able to get the move done. So great defensive driving, it has to be said, by Sargsyan in the Aston. We'll definitely keep an eye on this battle. It's been raging for 22 minutes so far.
Fantastic. And the ability, the other thing is, they're really going to have to worry about. So Pfeiffer might be one of the drivers that might consider taking tires, considering how heavily he's been using them to try and get this battle done. Now, while it must be incredibly frustrating during the race, not being able to get the move done, this is what we're here for. This battle, this this test of wits, this test of skill, looking for the slightest bit of mistake from the likes of Jora Sarkisian and Arsene Hovhannissian. A friend to Jora is going to be looking at any opportunity of incidents between the two, of the battle slowing down the two ahead to change that battle of two into a battle of three, which we did see several laps ago.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just happened to notice, I was kind of flicking through the field, Dylan Mertz. I'm not sure, I don't know if it was contact related, it may have just been a spin. But Dylan Mertz had another issue, and that McLaren looks very hard to handle right now as he goes into Bruxelles and into No Name there, as it used to be called. I forget what it's called now, to be honest with you, but yeah, the McLaren looking a little wobbly now. Maybe the damage proving to be a bit of an issue. Maybe he'll dive in the pits, we will see. Brandon Pfeiffer again was alongside, has to back out a little bit into Eau Rouge, and once again we'll see them continue this down the Kemmel Straight.
This is about the time where Pfeiffer is going to have to start deciding where he wants to take a little bit more risk. Almost halfway through the race, and the risk might be, Paul, is taking an early pit, right? Going in, resetting, and trying to get into a position on the field. Now, they don't have any engineers, most don't anyways, but just trying to find a gap somewhere in the field where he can go in and then try to find some open space, because it looks like he has the pace, but just not the place on track to get that move done.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and it could just be the difference in the cars at this point. He keeps lining it up, but just the Lambo just doesn't have quite enough maybe to get past that Aston once the corner exit. Fascinating battle though between them, and you're seeing the onboard there of Pfeiffer and that huge interior dash of the Lambo, which has always amused me, it has to be said.
Lots of information to be shared. Not live on our screens right now, but for sure would be for the drivers. Again, I think that top speed of that Aston just holding Pfeiffer back, just not being able to find that top end speed that he needs to make the overtake done. He really, there we go, called it. Smart move by Pfeiffer. Yeah. Hopefully does manage to maximize the pit entry and exit, as we have a super long straight here, the longest pit in all of our sim here in ACC. And we're gonna have to see how that plays out for Pfeiffer. About the middle of the race here, 34 minutes out of the 60 minutes that we have. Mandatory fuel and optional tires.
Yeah, so the pit cycle beginning now with about 26 minutes gone, and I think we're going to see a few people choose to get the stop out the way, and then drivers like Brandon Pfeiffer, as you say, maybe use this as an opportunity to try and get into some clean air, see what he can do after the pit stop. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see where those two shake down. We have a couple of moves being made out on track. I see the Aston there of Matencian, and fighting with the BMW of Tivanian, side by side right now.
Acing the commentary and acing the names as well. These two now going side by side, being joined by Armin Ghazarian. Again, these trio battles are super fun to watch. You know, usually you get maybe one or two, but we've had multiple groups of threes. You know, the two cars battling ahead, giving the third car the opportunity. Armin Ghazarian representing the Armenian three colors, as we call it. Yeraguin in Armenian colors on the flag. And really fun to watch these continuing to battle. BMW onto Aston of Matencian in P10. Now, Paul, I'm a person that battles for every position. but I think that there's something to be said about certain positions that I think are a bit coveted, right? So you got obviously the top spot P1, and then kind of, you know, you look at the podium, so 1, 2, and 3, and then, you know, something to be said about being top 5, right? People usually aim for that. And then that top 10, right? They usually, in certain series, the points limit the 10th position. So these guys now all seeking that top 10 position that is currently held by Sarkis Matensian.
Yeah, I've always been a huge proponent of just finishing in the top 10. That's typically my goal. Any race I enter, if I can finish in top 10, I'll be happy. And then podium and above would be a bonus. That's kind of how I've always looked at racing. And I think it's served me well. I can definitely vouch for you fighting for every position. I've been on track with you at Bathurst, bumper to bumper. For several laps, and so yeah, I can personally vouch for that.
That's wow, goodness, I had completely forgotten about that. But what a fun battle that was. You know, it admittedly took me a very long time to get familiarized, to have any sense of pace at Bathurst, and joining the Guzmans and some of the crazy rabbits folks in an endurance really had to buckle my seatbelts and put down some practice. And it's really the last bit of practice that I've put and since then, which has been nearly a year now, haven't really had much time to do so. But super fun event, and that sense of battling is something that we continue to see here in at Spa. These guys all doing fantastic. Again, like you said, the pit window really open now. Not the formal pit window, but it's the strategic pit window, as these folks continue to come in and find their spot back out on the grid, as Sarkisian and Borscher still going, and followed by Callum Jones. Again, super impressive for these drivers to be so close after a half an hour of driving, only 1.2 seconds between the two. I mean, unbelievable. Fantastic job by both Sarkisian and Andy Boykers, the Armenian and German respectively.
Yeah, and you know, it's always the trouble. If you are rapid and you take the lead of a race, you're on pole, you take the lead of the race, and you open up a gap of a second or more. The problem is you don't appear on the broadcast screen as much as perhaps you would if you were P7 in a bumper to bumper battle. So it is one of those things that just happens with racing. I mean, we see it all the time, all the way to the top of motorsport in Formula One. We see it often, right? You know, the battles are what people often want to see on screen. So it is important for us to regularly check in with Sarkisian and Borchers, as we've been doing. And even, you know, in P3 right now, you have Callum Jones there in the Mustang, about 4 seconds back from Borchers. So that, you know, not too far behind. It wouldn't take much to close these gaps. So yeah, we'll do our best to make sure and recognize what's happening at the front. Sarkisian and Borscher so far, though, looking very, very strong.
I mean, really, the top 5 all looking really good, right? And something that hasn't played out as well as you would have thought. Brandon Pfeiffer now behind Arsene Hovhannisyan. Didn't gain a position in the pits, but lost one. So now has to battle this Mustang. Yet another immense straight line speed car. Pfeiffer is gonna have his work cut out for him for the next 28 minutes and 36 seconds. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I thought he was really gonna make that move work.
Yeah, it's tough, man. I mean, we have over in New World, we have a huge Lambo fan in Victor, and this is what he's talked about, where it just doesn't. When this Lambo was released in ACC, it was very strong. Some would say too strong, and then it kind of got bopped to the ground, nerfed to the ground, as they say, as we see a McLaren. Woo.
Multiple cars in the same area, and unfortunately, I think that's the likes of Dylan Mertz.
It's going to allow Brandon Pfeiffer to potentially make the move back and get himself back into position prior to the pit stop. He's on the outside, door to door with the Mustang. There's a little door bang, that's fine. A little rubbing is racing. We all am familiar with that turn. He gets the move done. Brandon Pfeiffer back into P13 for now, but more importantly, got in front of the Mustang and will be able to start hunting down Sarkisian once
Oh my goodness. Hello 09 and YouTube, hope you're doing well. Welcome to the stream. 60 minutes of Spa, 27 minutes remaining, 1 mandatory pit stop, 25 seconds of mandatory fueling and optional tires. And Alex Freeman's mentioning in Twitch that yes, that BMW was incredibly lucky to have made it out alive with 3 cars battling for position and a lapped car and a car coming out of the pits. That was quite the scenario that Spa creates for you in that pit exit.
Oh, Dylan Mertz. I just flicked him to look at the damage, and there was an incident there between him and the BMW of Tivanian. A little contact through Pouon, I think. And yeah, Dylan Mertz's race just continues to be a uphill battle in that McLaren. It was him who we saw lost it, I think, at the top of Eau Rouge, which is very common if your car has any aero damage, right? Which I think he was carrying, and it's just getting worse and worse for Dylan. So unfortunate stuff in the McLaren. So, Paul, I'm sure you'd agree, racing is an incredibly mental state heavy performance sport. And if I'm Dylan Mertz, what I'm doing is I'm going to go into the pits, just slow things down for a second, repair the car, have a reset, right? And then go back out and try to basically pretend that I'm in a new race, right? Try to recover whatever it is that I can and see if I can make up any positions. And that's really unfortunate, Dylan, going from a pretty decent spot, you know, having made up a bunch of positions to just a string of unfortunate events. Yeah, I mean, it started with the commentators sniping from the commentary box, and it's, so Dylan could blame us. I would say blame the commentators for this one. Absolutely.
Absolutely. As the Luxembourger does go into the pits and tries to find what the next step is, what the reset button is on that vehicle, to try and gain some better performance through the second half of the race here. And someone who is looking for some performance in the second half of the race, Arsène Hovhannissian, has now dropped down to the likes of Carlos Guzman, chasing down Mustang on Mustang action. So on the straights, Hovhannissian doesn't have the protection of the straight line speed as he did with Pfeiffer. An incredible battle that was built up for many, many laps. Pfeiffer dropping down behind Hovhannissian through the pits, unfortunately for him, but Pfeiffer figuring out a way ahead, and now charging back up to the likes of Jonas Sarkisian, the original battler, and will, I'm sure, come back into play in a couple of laps here.
Yeah, Carlos, I think Carlos will be kind of happy with how his race is shaken out so far. P13 in the Mustang. Best lap of 2:17.6, which is, it's faster. His best lap is faster than several drivers ahead of him. A top 10 spot is possible if Carlos can lay down some steady, consistent fast laps. His last one was invalid. So, yeah, he's heading for a 218, high 218 at the moment. So we'll see what Carlos can do from here. He is, showing P12 right now on my race control. So I guess, somebody in the pits, that was Bar. So yeah, Carlos in P12, top 10 could be a possibility for Carlos.
Yeah, especially with Pfeiffer and Sarkisian battling, that is definitely a look for him. I don't know what you guys have done with Carlos over at New World Sim Racing, but he's found some pace. I remember being in the same zone as Carlos, battling with him quite often. And one of the things that does stick out quite a bit for me when it comes to talking about Carlos Guzman is the lack of consistency and maybe some decision-making and aggression. And all of that seems to have gone away. And Carlos Guzman now shaping up to be quite a competitive driver, and just a phenomenal performance in the position that he's at right now.
Yeah.
Oh my. Sorry, Paul. Something has happened where we've seen a change in position between Alex Sarkisian and Andy Borchers. Must have been some sort of lap traffic or whatever it is. But the likes of Andy Borchers, the German driver, is now ahead of the Armenian, who are behind a car that has yet to pit. But I'm not quite sure what's happened, where it happened, what happened, but here we are. That lead position, as we were talking about, not paying too much attention to them, but now is something that we're gonna have to pay attention to as they go through the lap traffic here. Sarkisian now in P2 behind Borchers. Oh my God, what a huge send!
That was a very, very ambitious send by Sarkisian. He does get the move done, but that one will likely be reviewed.
We're gonna have a quick review ourselves of this little move here. Try to use that lap traffic. Oh my goodness. And yeah, oof. I'm not sure where I would sit on that one. That needs further review, Paul, and I don't think we're the ones qualified enough to do that right now.
I mean, look, at the end of the day, he's carrying a lot of speed. These are drivers at the very top end of this particular race, and indeed, name-wise, they're always up there. So they are capable of doing things that I wouldn't even think of doing, and that right there was a hell of a move. And Carlos had an issue with the game, so you can blame me, Carlos. I sniped you because I was talking about how great your race was going, and now you've had a disconnect and a game issue. So you can blame me for that one, Carlos.
Exclamation point curse. Mr. Guzman will give you the commentator's curse count. I can't, but I mean, we usually get one a stream.
Yeah.
But
yeah, so I'd say we average around the same.
This is two now. Pretty. Wow. That's I'm sad. Carlos, we were singing your praises, talking about your development, but one thing you don't have control over is your equipment failing on you.
Yeah, we were. What stopped us talking about that was the change in leader, which is obviously changed back now. Sarkisian back in front for now. But yeah, what I was going to say is Carlos and Jose, both Guzmans, have come on such a long way in pace as well, as you had pointed out, Eric. But something that I added to my driving, there was, the consistency aspect is, and this is good for anyone into sim racing that finds themselves in a lot of incidents. I hit a point in my sim racing where I was involved in so many incidents. Instead of looking at, whether it was my fault or not, or somebody else initiated contact, whatever it might be, I found by starting to evaluate how I could approach each thing differently rather than what the other person did, it kind of changed the way I approached dangerous situations and led to me finishing a lot more races and staying out of trouble. And I've kind of stayed with that ever since, and I feel like it's really helped me. I mean, obviously you're gonna get in some incidents, that's just the nature of the sport, but yeah, I feel like that can help a lot of drivers.
Yeah, and while it does, it takes two to tango, right? And I always try to give drivers the benefit of the doubt, but at a certain point I hear people coming to me and going, it seems like I'm in an incident every week, whether it's one person or the other. It's like, well, have you looked at what the consistent factor is in there? And while you might not be in the wrong, right, it might be other people consistently doing the wrong thing, there is something to be said about driving to survive, right? To ensure that you are not putting yourself in a situation just like Andy did, right? We saw a huge send by Alex Sarkisian, and while Andy may have had every right to defend that position, it would have almost definitely spun the two around and given the likes of Callum Jones the position of the lead.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think some experience coming into play there. He probably saw the move coming and just kept that wheel straighter a fraction of a second longer than he would have normally, and stopped his regular sort of turn in, and that allowed them both to survive and continue the fight. So that's better for them, and it's better for us as spectators of the race. So Brandon Pfeiffer in that Lambo P9 has indeed put himself back behind the Aston. A familiar position for Brandon in this race. We'll see if he can get it done in the next 17 minutes. I have noticed we've got a couple of penalties up on the board now. A drive-through for Matensian in P11, so that's really going to mess with his chances of a top 10 finish. And a stop-go 30 for Barr in the McLaren, currently P22. And yeah, so a couple of penalties starting to appear.
And Carlos, I don't know. I think as I was mentioning earlier, before your situation there, I think that you do have some. You've improved. You've improved significantly. So it's been great. And I do see Borscher's getting closer now. This is impressive. This might not be over just yet, Paul. We see the likes of Borscher's maybe doing a bit of tire management through the race, or maybe Alex might be in a situation where he has 3 track limits, and I don't know if everybody knows. So for those that are new to ACC, the way that the sim handles your track limits to ensure that you're being relatively fair is that you get given 3 opportunities. So if you go off track and rejoin, if you haven't gained an advantage, it just says, hey, you went off track, your lap is invalid. If you do gain an advantage, however, you get a limit warning. Then you get a second limit warning and a third limit warning. However, on the 4th one, you will get a drive-through penalty, and likely what we see the likes of Sarkis Matensian serving right now is that 3 limit, the 4th limit warning that turns into a penalty. And it could be a situation where Alex might be dealing with multiple limits and having to pull off, given that we know that Mustang is fast, and we know that Andy is despite his greatest efforts, might just not have the machinery underneath him to have the same pace. But Alex is a lot closer than he was several minutes ago.
Yeah, Borscher's closing in, I mean, within a second. So yeah, we'll see what he can do here. I'm enjoying this battle now. It's started to unfold. We will see after that move from Sarkisian. I wonder, if Borscher's gets himself into a spot where he can take a lunge, I wonder if he'll be more motivated to do so.
I like the usage of your word motivated.
Yeah. It's one of those things, right? Like I've been there where it's okay, all right, that's what we're doing, I gotcha.
The laws,
get myself back in
the laws of physics as defined by Sir Isaac Newton state that every action has an equal and opposite reaction. And while retaliation is absolutely unacceptable, I think that the likes of Andy Boykers will be thinking, hey, if you're willing to be that aggressive, I might be willing to be that aggressive. What Andy doesn't have on his side, though, is he doesn't have that top end speed of the Mustang. Yeah. So it is going to be difficult for him to really catch up and have that overspeed at the end of a straight.
Yeah, definitely. And man, he just so smooth just watching. I mean, the BMWs has often been a very stable car in this sim. A lot of people like that about it. And yeah, just so smooth and fast. I've been watching Borscher's laps here for the last 2 or 3, and yeah, very smooth. I feel like he could be closing in, as you alluded to. We'll definitely keep an eye on this, because it would be really fun to get a battle for the lead with, we've got 13 minutes to go, so we're closing in on the later stages of the race.
And you know what, Paul? We're not too far away from some lap traffic coming into play. With 13 minutes remaining, it's about 7 or 8 laps. That might be something that Alex might have to start thinking about. Now,
while it might be an issue through the corners, it might be an advantage gained on the straights. So it really depends on when this lap traffic comes into play. But Borcher's probably looking ahead to see whether that lap traffic comes into play or not. We see, fortunately, while we do have, I know Alex and Andy are both Euro-based drivers, we're looking at some connection funkiness here.
I think that was, a little bit of race control issue as well, because race control tends to have some, with somebody in the pits, it kind of messes around with race control. I begin out here on P12 who have Ghoukasian in the Mustang, looking to put pressure on Armin Ghoukasian so another BMW and Mustang battle. P11 at stake at the moment. Less than half a second between them.
Yeah, that battle is ensuing. However, Pfeiffer back at it. Only a couple of tenths behind Sarkisian.
I feel for him. I mean, he's got the pace to get P8. I just don't think the car has what it takes to get past the Aston.
You know, I have to say, though, credit where credit's due. While we've been praising Brandon's pace, you got to talk about Jora's defense. Absolutely incredible.
Oh, yeah.
Not just, and you know, I think stern but fair. Absolutely phenomenal driving, and to have the ability to focus and not make a mistake for so many minutes. I'm sure Jora's going to be coming out of this race absolutely sweating as we see Pfeiffer catching a bit of a slip of the rear end on that Lamborghini.
Yeah, and I'm glad you pointed it out, because it is easy to forget that. I mean, there is a weakness on the Lambo, and there is a strength there on the Aston playing a part. But yes, the defensive driving of Sarkisian to repeatedly take defensive lines, defending corners. Yes, having that straight line speed is going to be a nice little bonus to have in your pocket coming out of some of those sections. But
oh yeah, my goodness. Sorry, Paul.
No,
flashing
please.
in and out while they're within hundredths of a second of each other must be a scary feeling. I'm hoping that it's just a connection issue on our end, because these drivers are absolutely pedal to the metal while these situations are happening. I know. So considering that a majority of the drivers here today are Euro-based, we did elect to go with a European-based server, so they shouldn't be having any issues. But we might be, given that we're on the North American side, not have the best connection here today.
Yeah, and this good battle going on here. This is the P11 fight. And yeah, another BMW and Mustang. This time, though, it's kind of the reverse of what we're seeing with Sarkisian and Borcher's. In this particular battle, the Beamer has the upper hand at the moment. But we'll see if the Stang of Ghoukasian can make a move.
Yeah,
within the next 9 minutes.
Yeah, Arsene down. Oh, that might have been a cut for him there. Eau Rouge being really, really easy place to get track limit warnings. Arsene has lost the position from qualifying, having qualified in 11th, now down into 12th. Armin Ghazarian, though, up 6 positions from 17th to P11 now. So fantastic performance by him, only bested by the likes of Austin Doyle, having gained 9 positions, and Brian Zierlein in 14th place right now.
Yep, and further down here, P16. We've seen him make a few moves today. Edouard Cochignan in the Mustang has just taken P16 from Hitzeman in the BMW. And he's been lining that one up for a little while as well. They were battling prior to the pit stop.
Yeah, again, super fun to see all of these cars, a good chunk of cars still battling on track. So that's definitely impressive. Again, 52 minutes into the race, 8 minutes remaining. Unfortunately for Edouard Cochignan, quite a bit of damage on the front of that Mustang is going to be chopping off some of that top end performance that the Mustang has. However, None for the likes of Jora Sarkisian. That vehicle still looks like it's in mint condition, and that top end speed giving Brandon Pfeiffer oodles and oodles of trouble.
Yeah, and that battle just rages on. I mean, hopefully they're enjoying it, because, you know, there's nothing worse than hot lap, you know, just sort of hot lapping in a race where you get yourself in that bubble. I mean, you know, it's sometimes nice feeling of consistency, but being in a fight like this for what will turn out to be about 55 minutes of the 60, it's going to take a toll, you know, energy-wise, but it should be a lot of fun. So we see him get so close here down the Camel Straight, gets himself alongside. We've seen this happen before. The Aston position perfectly, takes all that curb on the inside of Lacombe, takes the second curb as well, and the Lambo tucks back in. And once again, this is what we've seen over and over and over. And oh man, I bet he wishes that Lambo just had a little more oomph coming out of the corners.
I bet he wishes he executed that pit stop a little better. That's what I would be kicking myself for. And I'm trying to look at the spotter guide here as to what the pit stops look like for these drivers. Brandon Pfeiffer 27.03 seconds, and Jora actually had a slower pit stop from what I can see. So it must have been lap traffic that slowed Pfeiffer's progress down. No, I'm sorry. Well, you know, their pit stops were nearly identical, Paul. So no gain, no loss, only like a tenth or two, which wouldn't have really made a difference. So I bet you what happened is Pfeiffer got out of the pits and just got stuck behind some other cars, putting him behind the likes of Jora Sarkisian.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, closest battle on track as it has been for much of the contest, and on the back straight, heading down to bus stop now, and Lambo sort of leans out, says, "I'm still here." Aston's like, "Okay, follow me through. We'll see if there's a chance." But you pointed out earlier, we did talk about it a few minutes ago, Sarkisian yet to put a foot wrong in this battle. I really hope I don't snipe him. P11, P12 now.
And we do have Arsene Hovhannissian, big send, however, really poor exit, getting Armen Ghazarian back ahead into that P11 spot. I thought he had it done, but it isn't over until you're through the entire corner and then through the entire race. And that is a fantastic job by Armen Ghazarian, but presumably at one point thinking that he'd lost the position, but having true grit and coming around through the exit and really getting a good exit off of the final corner pair, which is the chicane of 19 and 20.
Yeah, the classic switchback there from the Mustang, from the BMW of Ghoukasian, because the Stang, you know, knowing how close they've been racing for the last 5-6 laps, the Mustang had to say, okay, I'm going to have a look here, going into the bus stop, compromise their own line a little bit, went in a little hot, trying to get it done. BMW stayed the course, stayed its line, stayed its braking and turn in at acceleration point, more importantly, and was able to get out of that sequence back in front. So yeah, very calmly executed defense.
Yeah, good job. Good battling there. Again, I have to say, Paul, for a lot of these drivers never having driven against each other before, I'm absolutely impressed by the competition, by the respect that's shown on the grid here. Now, while you might think that Ghazarian and Hovhannissian, both Armenians, might have driven with each other before, I actually don't think that's the case, because I do know that Armen is a US-based driver and Arsene is an Armenia-based driver. So while they do share the same flag, I don't think they've really raced ever together before. So them having that respect on the field is absolutely fantastic, and we saw that starting right off the first lap. Such a great performance by everybody on the grid, and that continues to be the case.
Again here, I don't think there was contact the BMW of Ghoukasian at Blanchimont. I don't think it was contact. I think it was just a loss of traction. And he goes into the wall, and that is going to be a lot of damage for that BMW. And I don't know if that one counts as a sniper or not. You have to decide.
Oh my goodness. We can't have 3 curses on the same stream. That's not fair.
I mean, listen, the jury's out. We'll let chat decide on that one. I don't know, man, because we were just talking about those guys, and yeah, that is so unfortunate, but it does happen. And it does happen at Blanchimont quite often.
Interesting situation here. Back on with Joras Sarkisian and Brandon Pfeiffer. Now with lapped traffic ahead. Is this Porsche just going to get out of the way and let these two continue on with their battle? Or is there going to be some sort of a situation? Porsche seems to be ducking out.
Yeah, smart play.
As they go into Pouan, I believe.
Yeah, that's a smart play by the blue flag driver. You know, some drivers, if you have a lot of pace, it can be, if you were in incidents and then you're caught up in something else, like it can be awkward, but Porsche, I think, did the right thing, sees these two are having a bit of an epic battle, and gives it the little lift down the hill into Pouan, allows Pfeiffer and Sarkisian to make through as the leader, which will be Alex Sarkisian in the Mustang, starts the final lap of the race.
Joby, you didn't tell me. You didn't tell me of his knack of sniping drivers on stream. I should have been warned. I was super excited about streaming this race with Paul, and then come to find out that he's just an absolute sniper. There's no doubt about it. His greatest skill of all time is sniping cars while streaming. Sarkisian, final lap. Having led most of the race. Some great battles between himself and Borges. And now...
So Brandon Pfeiffer has 1 lap to make a move here. He's a 10th behind. The Aston takes probably a track car.
Yeah, that was generous.
Yeah, it was a track car. So, you know what? If you have one to spare, not a bad time to take it on the last lap, because now the desperation factor could be there for Brandon Pfeiffer in the Lambo. He has nothing he can do to get past that Aston unless it's something really, really aggressive. So we'll see what happens here on the last lap.
Yeah, just going back to see if the cars behind are in a battle themselves, but I don't think that to be true. Oh, it's true. We have 2 battles. Pfeiffer and Sarkisian ahead, and then we have the likes of Hansen and Markarian just behind. It looks like Hansen has made his way through. Oh my goodness.
Oh.
Contact. Again, battles of 3 here. Loser coming out to be Heitzman. But back to this battle up front.
Unfortunate, and you know, that can happen into bus stop. Exciting part of the race. We're on to the last lap. So yeah, unfortunately, a few positions will be lost for that grouping.
And that is a win for Alex Sarkisian, the Armenian driver. Followed by Andy Borchers in P2. Fantastic job. Callum Jones coming in P3. Fermato P4. Marc-Antoine Landry through the final corner in P5. Hunter Davis P6. Kenneth Portis having a quiet one, P7. And these two for P8, still battling for over 40 minutes. We've been watching these two. Does Pfeiffer have anything to offer up in the last couple corners? And unfortunately for Pfeiffer, that is going to be a P9 following Joras Sarkisian. An immense battle between these two for P8. Fantastic.
Yeah, really, really great battle. We have Gajik Jamarian about to cross the line to round out the top 10. And Hovhannisyan will come in as well next. So yeah, that Pfeiffer Sarkisian battle raged for like 58 minutes of the 60. So hopefully they enjoyed that as much as we did.
Yeah, it was fantastic as I try to wrangle some of our drivers in here as the last couple of drivers finish their race, try to see if we can get the podium sitters in here for an interview.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, shout out to Jones. Quiet race, brings it home on the podium. Formato as well, was P4, I believe. Because I think Borch's has dropped out of my table, so yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, that, yeah, for a couple of drivers, good finish, uneventful race, which I always am happy with, to be honest. I mean, like, we all love racing, we all love the battles, but sometimes it is nice just to bring it home with a good, strong finish.
Yeah, I mean, really good performance by everybody out here. And you know what? Just showing up to this fantastic event by the federations from Armenia, Brazil, and Luxembourg. Just a fantastic job all around. And we're going to try and see if we can get the podium sitters here into the studio. For the time being, we are going to switch back into the studio with myself and the likes of Paul Miles. Paul, you know what? Pretty good race.
Yeah, really good, really good. Very pleased I got up early this morning for this one to sit here and join you at Spa. It's been a really good race.
You know what? I don't see anyone popping in, but Brandon, I see that you just rated. Why don't you come into the green room and give us a little bit of a conversation on your race, because we were watching a lot of it and it was really fun. So hop into the green room. Let's have a quick interview with you.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to watch that one. It'd be nice to get his thoughts on that Aston.
He's coming in. Excellent. Yeah,
Love it.
Really good job. Really great race by everyone. And we do have the winner in here. Alex, welcome to the stream. Absolutely fantastic job. You know, you did have some battles in there. Tell us what happened in the middle of the race where we missed it. What switched positions between you and Andy?
Hello everyone, I just want to thank all of you for hosting the race. That was quite fun with Andreas. He was chasing me like the whole race, and yeah, it was kind of fun. Yeah, I tried to overtake some back markers, and I don't know, I squeezed on the grass, they squeezed me too on the grass, and I almost lost it. But I managed to bring it back with my pace, and yeah, 40 is very fast on this track.
Yeah, we talked about maybe potentially a little bit of advantage in machinery, but that isn't to take anything away from you. I know we've known you to be a phenomenally fast driver and great performance by you. Yeah, so great race overall, and I know that you had a bit of a battle with Andy in the middle there, right at the very end of the lap, and yeah, we watched it. Super fun to watch, but overall. P1 in the qualifying, and then managed to bring it home through the race. So great job. Congratulations on that.
Thank you very much.
Now, unfortunately for Brandon, things didn't quite play out the same way. Brandon, we were watching a lot of what was going on through your race there. You had a fantastic challenge there, I would say. Tell us a little bit about what you had to deal with Zhora Sarkisian and the likes of Arsene Hovhanessian behind you.
Yeah, it was so frustrating, but in the best way. Like, it was me and the Aston were so consistent the whole race. And, you know, I think I had a slight pace advantage on him, but only like a 10th or so. So it wasn't enough to easily get by him. And he played a perfect defense, you know, just leaving me enough room, get by him, not outbreaking himself, things like that, like I kept trying to get him to do. And yeah, my tires started letting go at the end, probably the last 3-4 laps. I just wasn't confident in the rear tires. But yeah, it was, I was so focused that race. It was so much fun.
Yeah, that was the most enjoyable battle to watch, I think, for me of the race. And Yeah, it must have been a little frustrating because I do think you're probably right on the pace front. Although you two were so close together, perfect defense by him. But I think ultimately it's the Lambo that cost you the opportunity to get past him.
Yeah, I just switched to the Lambo like a week and a half ago to do this season of LFM and then any leagues I'm doing. So Spa is the track it's felt the best at, though. I will say Watkins Glen it was a little iffy at, but Spa it felt really good. Just not good enough compared to the Aston.
Well, regardless, it was an absolutely phenomenal battle to watch. I think for over 40 minutes, if not the entire race. A couple of situations where you had to both look ahead and behind as the likes of Arsene Hovhanessian taking advantage of the battling between you and Jora did play out. So really, really fun. And I'm sure frustrating not to get the position that you were battling for, but a great race. I mean, this is what we come here to do, come here to watch. And thank you for putting on such a great show, Brandon.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, Paul, that seems to be a really good spot to call the stream there. Any last words before we close it off?
Yeah, just only thanks for having me. I think this cast in particular, myself and you in the booth, I think it's been a long time coming. So finally to get one in the books is a good feeling. Yeah, so thanks for having me. I look forward to the next one.
Yeah, I really, really appreciate you coming by and keeping us company and giving your insights on what has turned out to be a phenomenal race between all of these drivers. I mean, I can't express how impressed I am by everybody maintaining such a clean lap one overall, clean racing, great battles as we saw through unfamiliar faces, right? It's one thing to battle someone that you've known for quite some time, and it's another thing to battle someone you've never really been on track with. So having that respect across the board, right, under the umbrella of the FIA has been absolutely fantastic. Huge shout out and thanks to the Automobile Federation of Armenia, the Automobile Club Brasileiro, and Automobile Club de Luxembourg. Thank you so much for the support and for putting this event together. And we're really looking forward to having many, many more in the meantime. Thank you so much wherever you are. For just tuning in and watching these drivers take it to the absolute limit. Great race, great event, and we look forward to many, many more in the future. Paul, thank you so much for joining me, and we will see you next time. We'll be back tomorrow for some more racing here at Trackalicious for the Next Level Racing GT3 Pro Championship. For now, I'm Eric Ghoukasian, joined by Paul Miles. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are, and we'll see you next time.